In this series of videos is going to talk about your mindset and your mentality in the game of squash. Something, again, that might be brushed over. You see a lot of coaches have good technical detail and they talk about the movement, but man, if your mindset is right and you're in the right frame of mind when you're coming to play squash, that can really help you out. I've seen a lot of players who are technically, tactically, and movement-wise more inept than their opponent, and they can get some wins and they can start to cause trouble just because of their mindset and how they approach the game mentally. You know, the mental game is huge in any sport, and it will vary from player to player. Different characters and different styles will vary, and you will hopefully find certain things that work more for you and get you in the right frame of mind. I talk about the mindset in the game of squash as being the most controllable factor of it. You hear a lot of squash coaches and you hear more psychologists, I suppose, than coaches talk about control the controllables. In my opinion, that's the biggest controllable. What's going on in your head, how you're talking to yourself, what your mindset is, because literally and figuratively, you're in your head. You know, you can control that. So I'd really encourage you to start to become mindful and present of what's going on there. You know, how you talk to yourself, how you are approaching the game, what type of mindset you're in. And we're going to look at different types of mindsets and go through them in a little bit of detail, which will hopefully resonate with you. You will ideally enjoy the game a little bit more with that right mindset. You'll come to it and you'll be in a good frame of mind. Whatever's maybe happened outside with work or life or school, you can leave that outside and really use the courts as a bit of your sanctuary in a way. You can use the court to be your safe place if your mindset is in the right place. One major area I talk about with mindset is non-judgmental observation. I think that's a really key bit about it. What I see too often, there's a lot of emotions in squash, and rightly so. It's a game in a bit of a pressure cooker. You're in four walls, you're sharing the same space. Winning and losing is sometimes the first and foremost, but the emotional judgment can cloud your decision-making ability. So when I talk about non-judgmental observations, it would be watching your shot, watching your opponent's shot, but not putting in an emotional judgment on it, going, oh, that was absolutely awful and I'm playing terrible today, or my goodness, my opponent's so lucky and they're just getting every ball back with a frame and a fluke. If you're talking to yourself like that and you have those mental states of mind where there's a lot of judgment and a lot of emotion on it, it will definitely hinder your decision-making ability. So this idea about non-judgmental observation would be you're observing your shot, you're observing what's happening, but that will give you the ability to make some tactical decisions or make some technical decisions or think about your movement when you're not judging it with emotions. You're purely observing what's going on to give you the fact or give you the tools to be able to build your rally and to be able to be present and mindful at that moment. Look, it's no easy thing, and this playlist and this topic about talking about your mindset is so broad and varied, and at different moments you might have to be in different mindsets and move them around, but I would encourage you to start to think about this. All too often, I see players turn up and they have their little bit of a warm-up and bash the ball around, start, play, frustrations, throwing rackets, or overly joyed and emotions are all up and all over the place. The better players have a more balanced approach. They don't get carried away with the highs or the best shots or these amazing wins, and they don't get depressed and down and negative with the lows. They've got more of a non-judgmental approach to it. With mindsets and with being in these different mindsets, there's no one right answer. You know, it's something that it's alive and it moves and it's constantly evolving, constantly depends on what's going on in your life as well and what state of mind you arrive to the courts like. So these are some broad examples, but it's trying to get you to think about them a little bit more within your game and see where you go with it. So we'll talk about the first one, which is stay relaxed. Sounds very simple. It says what is on the tin. It is about relaxing. I like to use the knock-up as part of this relaxing. When you're warming the ball up, it's just not warming the ball up. It's about getting your relaxed flow going, keeping your grip a little bit more relaxed, trying to use your whole body in the shot, trying to really feel there's this flow and rhythm and relaxation. You know, you should almost see yourself a little bit externally and kind of visualize how relaxed it is. Or if you've seen another player that's relaxed, some of the pros have got good examples when they knock you up about how relaxed they are, see if you can tap into that relaxed state of mind. It's important to not be too relaxed because then your arousal levels are too low and you're too almost floppy and not really doing anything. So it's about relaxing and feeling your shoulders dropping and feeling your knees and hips going through it. So use the knock-up as part of that. And the second mindset we're going to talk about is being positive. So being positive for me is about the body language as well. It really helps with my body language. If I'm being positive, and whether it's in the knock-up or the first few points, if I'm positive in my mind, if I'm going, right, I need to really hit that length through, I need to line it up and really hit it through there, or I need to really play my drop shot through there. Having that positive frame of mind where I'm backing myself has this great image in your body language. And what it'll do, it'll improve your consistency levels. Even if you are missing the shots, you are approaching it with that confidence and that positivity that will allow it over time to become really fine-tuned and will allow good consistency levels. So having a positive frame of mind is going to be really interesting to tap into. You know, we definitely don't want to be a negative. You know, you hit a 10 or you're tentative and you're negative and you start doubting yourself. You'll start to pull up on the shot, or your racket will break through the ball. Even if it's not going to be the right shot or a great shot, do it with positivity.
Have you ever wondered what Jonah Barrington, Nick Matthew and Jonathan Power all have in common? They might all be world number ones, but they're also all coaches on squashskills.com. Now, Squash Skills is the online training platform that's designed to give amateur players the insight and knowledge to take their games to a whole different level. So if you've been struggling with your game, or you're stuck in a bit of a rut, or you're wondering how to improve, we've got you covered. With over 4,000 videos from some of the biggest names in the sport, as well as the ultimate training app, complete with every single squash exercise under the sun, we're there to take care of you and ensure that you can improve your squash no matter what your level. We're so confident that we can improve your understanding of the game that we'll even give you a 14-day money-back guaranteed if you're not completely satisfied. So if you're looking to take your game to a whole new level in 2024, be sure to check out squashskills.com today.
Linked closely to positivity is being alert. So this can also tip into the other side of your arousal levels where there's tension. So we want to be alert and we want to be on our toes and be ready to go in any direction. And actually being alert for me really links into the watching. So I've talked about watching your opponent and I talk about really watching your opponent. If I'm alert, I've hit a shot, whether it's into the front or say it's a cross court through to the back, I'm there and I'm watching and my body language is alert. You can almost see I'm on my toes a little bit, my chest is up, my racket position is ready to go. And that little bit of alertness before my opponent hits the shot is essential for anticipation and getting onto the next ball early. Bear in mind, alert can sap your energy. If you're too alert and things are tense, like you're tense on your grip, you feel this tension there and that affects your movement. And being alert can also feel like you're sprinting the whole time. So think about being alert, but not being too on it and too edgy. It is very easy to tip over. What I talk about being mindful is almost having your coach's eyes on. What I mean by that is remove yourself from the court. Have this external image of yourself. Imagine you're watching yourself from the outside or watching yourself from the balcony and being zoomed out in essence. I think that's a really nice way, even tactically, to play the game. Because when you start to see things from an external point of view, almost from a slightly removed point of view, a coach's eye, if we can call it that, you will probably start to figure out where there's gaps in the court and where the spaces start to appear and where your opponent's going to hit the next shot. Have this game where you're playing it like you're playing it on a computer, on a screen, where you're seeing it so externally and you know exactly what's coming. So I do encourage the mindfulness and I do practice it with my players. It is one of the hardest states to be in, but I highly, highly recommend it. Linked relatively closely to mindfulness is being present, is being in the moment, is using the game of squash as your sanctuary, as your good place. Look, I know that sounds a bit fluffy and vague, but all these little tricks do work and these little states of mind you get yourself into. You know, control the controllables when you're being present. Whatever's happening outside, you know, stuff's going on at work or family life, you know what, that's a non-controllable. For those 40 minutes or 1 hour you're on a court, you can't really affect what's going on outside the court. So if you stay present and stay in the moment, you will become more wrapped up in your game, in what you're trying to do tactically, technically, with your movement. And it's so frustrating when you turn up and all you can think about is stuff going on the outside. And that's very easy to happen. In the pressure cooker of a match, it's so easy to go, oh, I'm having a bit of a bad day, and you start thinking about the bad day or the bad week you've had. Really encourage yourself to stay present and stay in the court in essence. So I know that sounds almost opposite to being mindful, but we talked about mindful about still watching the game, but just from a slightly more removed part. Being present is trying to leave the external stuff external. The non-controllables, just leave them. Control what you can control. And the final state of mind we're going to talk about is focus on your processes. You know, a lot of time the win is good and the loss is bad. It's not as simple as that. And if you think about winning is always good and losing is always bad, you're not focusing on the processes. And the processes, we talk about process goals. Processes would be stuff in regard to your movement, maybe in regard to your technique, in regard to your tactics, even in regard to your mentality and your mindset. Because if you're focusing on those processes, you can get wrapped up in some simple tasks that are in front of you. If you're thinking about the win, that is so far down the line. There's so many subcategories and subplots that have to happen to get the win. And some simple focusing on the processes for me would be, I've got to hit my targets. I've got to get the ball to the back. Am I volleying more than my opponent? Am I split stepping on the tee? You know, I'd only maybe pick one of them, maybe two maximum, because the human brain sometimes can't cope with more than one or two tasks. If you're thinking of processes in, I've got to get my technique here and my tactics there and my movement like this and my mind, wow, that's too much going on. So get wrapped up in the simple processes. Those simple focus points can sometimes be the difference between winning and losing. And when you're getting those processes done again and again and again, it'll eventually lead you to the win. So look, a lot of information in there. 6 different states of mind and 6 different mindsets that you can be in or you can experiment to be in. For me, they're all positive mindsets. They're all things that bring goodness to the game. You know, we don't want to get negative and berate ourselves and be trying to rile ourselves up. Look, be aware of your arousal states. If you are too relaxed, try be more alert. If you're too alert and edgy, try relax more. And hopefully this video has given you the idea of different things you can try. Think about where you're at the moment. Think about what state you get into if you're a really negative player or you're too overjoyed about the winning. You know, because if you're overjoyed about the winning, the loss is going to feel bad. So good luck thinking about these. Good luck working them. And like I've alluded to, mindset is very different for different people and at different times of the game. But I hope it gives you the tools to be able to go onto the court, have a little think about what's going on, and ultimately enjoy the game massively because of the different states of mind you're going to be in.